Good afternoon, sir.
How's it going?
You doing all right, sir? Great to see you. Well, good afternoon, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, by the power vested in me and approval from Mr. Parigi, we're going to start having some fun. This is the City of Beaumont joint public hearing of the Planning and Zoning and City Council meeting. And my name is Sina Nejad. I have the privilege of chairing the meeting. We ask if you would call the roll, please.
Chairman Najad,
Here.
Commissioner Beatty,
Present.
Commissioner Jabbar,
Present.
Commissioner Jabia,
Present.
Commissioner Javed, Commissioner Linton,
Here.
Commissioner Macon, Commissioner Noyola is absent, and Commissioner Sinegar is absent.
Great. All of you, the members of the committee, have been given the minutes of the last meeting. I would look for a motion to approve if there is no changes or recommendations.
Motion to approve the minutes?
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? The ayes have it. Thank you. For those of you, audience, please make sure that you have your phone on silence, if you please. And when it comes for you to come and speak, please make sure that you comply with the 3 minutes time limit for your presentation. With that said, we're going to get started with the first item of the regular meeting, PZ 2023-203.
Good afternoon. The first item is for an abandonment of portions of South Archie and Holmes Street. The City of Beaumont is requesting to abandon the rights-of-way. Once abandoned, an exchange of this property has been arranged to provide additional parking for the Event Center and Lakeside Center. CenterPoint is asking for a blanket utility easement on these properties, and all items were sent to every interested party. I do have some slides for you. There we go. The property outlined in red are the rights-of-way that are proposed for abandonment. And this is tract 1. There's tract 2, it's a portion of South Street. Tract 3 is also a portion of South Street. And then we have portions of Archie Street and Holmes Street. I have some photos of those portions of the right-of-way. Just to skim through, this is South Street. This is also South Street. This is just looking south from below the Event Center across where Archie and Holmes would be located. And that's all the photos that I have. And I've received one response in favor and 0 in opposition of this application. Are there any questions I can answer for you?
And you said this went to CenterPoint, or?
We send every application for abandonment to all interested parties, which would include the utility companies, anyone who might have utilities located in them. And CenterPoint did respond, saying they have utilities in portions of, I think, South Street, they said, and they were just asking for an easement. And we were planning to retain all of these as a blanket utility easement, I believe, anyway, so.
This doesn't require a public hearing, does it?
I don't
I don't
so.
think so. It doesn't have it in here. Well, great. We heard from the staff and is in regard with the abandoned portion of the streets. And with that said, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say
Mr.
aye.
Chairman, you still have to ask, is there anyone who wants to speak for or against?
Well, that's kind of what
So Just to clarify, public hearing would be where it's with, it requires discussion, but you do have to ask if there's someone who wants to speak for or against.
Oh, great.
Just as a matter of practice. Sorry.
So is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak for or against this?
No, we don't. No, just kidding.
All right, why don't you come up and give us that information while you're here anyway. Great, and your name and address, please.
There we go. My name is Edward Brown. I'm with the City of Beaumont Water Utilities Department at 1315 Langham Drive.
Perfect.
We're just wanting a clarification for that easement, blanket easement, because the city also has water utilities within Holmes and South Street.
Explain what you mean by a definition of a blanket utility. I would assume means the entire property that's proposed for abandonment.
Is that a blanket utility for Centerpoint or for also the city too?
I would say it's for all utilities.
For all utilities to all departments essentially?
Yes, sir.
Well, it can't be blanket. It needs to be, the size and location is defined, but the purpose could be for all utilities, right?
If that's what it needs to be, I'm sure that's what it would be.
So for clarification, you can't have a blanket easement. We need to have it defined. So if it's a utility easement and it's available for all utilities, then that's one thing, but we need to know. I wouldn't allow you.
Okay. So a utility easement, is that what we need to call it then?
Yes.
Okay.
If the purpose is to be used for utilities, yes, it needs to be called a utility easement, and it needs to define what agencies have access to it. So if it's just going to be, typically our utility easements do involve Centerpoint and other utilities just for the ease of it. But if it's a water line, sewer line.
So the condition would, I guess I'm assuming, would read an easement for the Centerpoint, City of Beaumont, and Entergy, perhaps, so you can catch all of them?
I'm just going to go ahead and ask Molly Villarreal and Antoinette Hardy to come up to the podium to make this easier.
Good afternoon. Molly Villarreal, City Engineer, 801 Main Street, Beaumont. I believe it'd be more proper to retain a general utility easement for this abandonment request. So we would abandon the right-of-way, but retain the general utility easement, which I think that's how it's a normal process.
What's the difference between general and blanket?
You want the short answer or the long answer?
I want the one that you're gonna be happy so we can go home.
We don't accept blanket easements, and blanket easements aren't clearly defined.
But general's basically the same.
So a
isn't it?
general easement general utility easement. When you do a blanket easement, that's not defined, and that's not a normal term. Well, you know this is engineering. That's not a normal acceptable term in the industry.
Also have utility attached to it.
Yes, so just the term general is the general term that's accepted and practical in the deed restricting rule.
As opposed to an exclusive water line easement or exclusive sanitary sewer easement, which is pretty common, but for these type of roadway abandonments, we typically retain a general utility easement.
And that's just the quote unquote proper noun for
The
it.
disconnect was general easement or general utility easement. I've got it.
Correct.
Okay,
And not
perfect.
blanket.
Thank you very much. So are you gonna amend this with one condition?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and who had the motion?
I did.
Okay, and you understand that we're gonna add a general utility easement to it,
Yes.
right? And then who seconded?
I did.
And you do understand that also?
do.
Thank you. Okay. Now that we had the discussion out of our way and everybody understands, she is gonna change the text. And with that, I would call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? The ayes have it. Thank you. We're going to go to PZ 2023210.
File PZ 2023-210 is a request for a sidewalk waiver. The sidewalk in question would be along 6th Street from Washington Boulevard to the north, along the west side of 6th Street. Don King of Fitz and Shipman Incorporated requests a waiver of the sidewalk requirement for the restaurant to be located at 3120 Washington Boulevard. If approved, the request would allow the sidewalk to be waived along 6th Street. Engineering staff has reviewed the request for the sidewalk waiver, and they state that Mr. King's letter does not provide an engineering reason for which a sidewalk cannot be constructed along 6th Street. That culverts will need to be installed in the existing open ditch to accommodate the proposed sidewalk. Installing culverts is proven to be feasible by the existing culvert and surface inlet located in the southeast corner of the property. The existing open ditch serves as a relatively small drainage area. Therefore, installing culverts is not anticipated to negatively impact the overall drainage. So planning staff recommends denial of the request. And I do have just a couple of photos for you. Like I said, the property in question is outlined in red, and the proposed sidewalk would be along the east edge of that red area, west edge of 6th Street. And it was raining torrentially that day, so this is the best photo I could get, but I did get a street view that might show you a little better where that sidewalk would go, and it would be there along the edge of 6th Street that you see to the left side of the photo.
Okay, so you determined that this was not enough engineering reason and more of a cost issue, maybe?
I believe that's
For
what they...
convenience?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you. Is the applicant in the audience? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Bernardino Tristan with Fitz and Shipman at 1405 Cornerstone Court. On behalf of the applicant, Don King, he's out on medical leave right now.
All right, sir, you do understand the denial by the city. Do you have anything else that you want to add?
Yes, sir, and just the property itself, that side of the right of way, it's about 115 linear feet of that in its current condition that the sidewalk would have to bridge over the ditch itself. So that's over 100 feet of linear feet of pipe that has to be installed, plus the concrete on top.
All right, so again, that seems like a financial issue. Do you have an engineering reason that we should accept?
Not at this time, other than that it's probably a swing of about $20,000 or so.
It's kind of unfortunate that it's going to cost you that much, but I was hoping that you find an engineering reason for it. And for that reason, I'm not sure how we can help you. But anyway, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir.
We've heard, let's see, and this one doesn't require a public.
She's saying yes.
All right. So this would be the same as a public comment, right? Yes. Okay. So is there anybody that would like to speak for or against this case? Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
I'm Hal Guillory, owner of the property in question,
Mr. Guillory, what is your address, please?
3120 Washington Boulevard.
All right.
Okay. They told me in the original meeting that to apply for a waiver for the sidewalk, and I did, and they told me, well, go get your engineer and give me 3 reasons why you shouldn't have it there. And Fitz and Shipman gave them 3 reasons, and it leads to nowhere. It leads to nowhere, and there's no curb and gutter, and there's no sidewalk on any of the streets, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. there's no sidewalk on any of the side streets. And anyway, I was thinking that, is it my responsibility to put the culverts in the curb, or was the city gonna curb and gutter it, and then I put the sidewalk? How does that work?
The ordinances are that any new construction would have sidewalks installed. And unfortunately, we run into this quite often where there are properties that there's no adjoining sidewalks, but it's gonna have to get started somewhere. And that's how the ordinance is reading. If there was an engineering reason that it was impossible for you to install sidewalk, then that could have been considered by the commission. Unfortunately, as your engineer said, there is no engineering reason that you cannot install the sidewalk, and is a financial burden on you. And the financial burden doesn't come into one of the reasons that we can accept.
Okay, so is the city gonna curb and gutter it, and then I put the sidewalk?
Molly, you're still here, right? Can you add to this equation a little bit? I would appreciate it.
I love you, but no. Good afternoon. The ordinance does require for the new development that the developer be responsible for making those improvements to serve their development and to meet the letter of the ordinance. Therefore, our waiver, our response to his request for waiver is based on the ordinance. Of course, the council and the commission are certainly able to overrule us, but we have to base our response on the ordinance as it's currently written. So the city would not plan to install any curb and gutter that would require a complete rebuild of the road, but to fill in that ditch with a culvert. The culvert's already stubbed out right there from the Washington project, goes across that existing driveway. There's a great inlet there. So the provision was already there established to be able to continue that culvert, bury it under the dirt, and place a sidewalk on top of it so that the pedestrians can travel safely.
So I need to install culverts and drain boxes?
Per the ordinance as it's currently written. So that was how we wrote our response based on that.
I mean, my drainage and everything is fine. I had 10 loads of dirt, and had George came out there and it's got a grade on it, everything draining into that ditch, you know? And like I say, she went out there when it was raining, water wasn't sitting, it's just, I just don't think it's fair that I should do the city's job putting covers under there. I can see the sidewalk, but then the sidewalk leads to nowhere. And there are no sidewalks on any of the numbered streets off of Washington Boulevard. None. They got it on 4th and 11th, that's it. And all the other side streets have no sidewalks.
I understand. Thank you, Molly. Anything else from you, sir?
No, sir.
Again, I'm very well understand your condition, your situation is, that's how the ordinance reading. And for us to be able to improve, we're gonna have to start somewhere. And this started a couple of 3 years ago. And a lot of people like you get caught where they have to build sidewalks that there's no matching into it on the other side.
So I have to put culverts and drain boxes
Yes, sir.
and then put the sidewalk.
Yes, sir.
How far is the sidewalk supposed to be from,
I think it's the length of your property out there.
I'd say, away from the culverts?
I'm not sure. I'll be more than happy to get somebody with the city to get with Fitz and Shipman and help you out with that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry that you have to be out that money. We've heard from the applicant and also the city, and line that says how many we sent out. All right, folks, we've heard from the city and also the applicant and the city engineer. And with that, I would look out for a motion.
Well, I feel bad for the applicant, but we have to do what the ordinances say. So I make a motion that we deny file PZ 2023-210.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? The ayes have it. Thank you. We're going to go to PZ 2022-227.
File PC 2023-227 is a request by Richard Bartz of Whiteley Infrastructure Group requesting approval of a replat of Lot 36 into lots 36A and 36B, Glen Oaks Addition, Beaumont, Jefferson County, Texas. The purpose of the plat is to transfer approximately .2 acres located at the rear of 4675 Glen Oaks Circle to 4645 Glen Oaks Circle. The property to be transferred borders the rear of the two lots in between those two properties. And planning staff recommends approval of the request, and I have some slides. And the site plan that you can see, or the map, the property outlined in red is the subject property. As you can see, currently it's attached to that more northern piece of property, that rear piece. And on the plat, they're drawing a line straight back on that piece of property and then attaching it to the property to the south, the portion at the rear. You can see it a little clearer in this photo. I've received 0 responses in favor and 0 in opposition. And the applicants are in the audience.
Any questions? Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Fine. It has been a while. So, Tom Moreau with Whiteley Infrastructure Group, 655 Langham, Unit 14, Beaumont, Texas. Adina, can you go back to that first slide?
Sure.
That's easier. So as Adina talked about, that first track, if you see, it's kind of unusual the way it wrapped around behind the subdivision. The owner of that wishes to convey to the owner of Lot 36 that piece. So it's kind of straightened up an odd shaped piece of property, but they had reached an agreement. So there's existing homes, or existing utilities, so there's no changes to the infrastructure. Everything is there. Everything meets ordinances as far as setbacks. It's just the owner of Lot 36 wishes to own that piece of property behind him. Yes, sir. Right, correct.
Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak for or against this case? None is heard, so we close the public hearing. We heard from the staff and also the applicant. And I will look for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any in opposition? The ayes have it. Thank you. We go to PZ 2023-242.
PZ 2023-242 is a request to vacate Pate's estate. Mr. and Mrs. Pate intended to build on the divided portion of the property in the future, but did not realize that they would be required to pay taxes separately in the meantime. Therefore, they're asking to cancel the plat and reestablish the property as it exists prior to the recordation of the plat. And the plat was filed September 27th of 2019. They both signed the letter for the request, and staff recommends approval of the request. And you can see on the screen, the property outlined in red are the two pieces that the plat divided the property into. back in 2019. And here you have a shot of the actual plat that divided the property, and this is what they wish to vacate.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Let's see. Is the applicant in the audience? No. Great. And this doesn't require a public hearing, so with that, I would look for a motion.
Motion to approve file PZ 2023-242.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? The ayes have it. Thank you. This concludes our Planning Commission meeting, and now we're going to start the joint Planning Commission and the City Council. With that, I would ask the Honorable Mayor Roy West to get us started.
Mayor West? Mayor Pro Tem Durio? Councilmember Feldshaw is absent. Councilmember Turner absent. Councilmember Neild? Councilmember Getz? And Councilmember Samuel. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for the Planning Commission will vote today to give recommendations to the City Council. The items will then come before City Council in 1 to 2 weeks for a final decision. The only opportunity to speak on these items will be at the meeting today. There will be no time available for public comment when they come before the City Council. Again, thank you for coming. Mr. Chairman, I will turn the meeting back over to you at this time.
Fantastic job, Mr. Mayor. That's a great start. All right. Okay, we go to PZ 2023161.
Yes, sir. PZ 2023-161 is a request by Jorge Batista requesting approval for a specific use permit to allow a drinking place located at 3035 College Street, Suite A. The applicant states that the hours of operation will be Sunday through Thursday, 4 p.m. to midnight, with at least 4 to 5 staff, including 1 security person. For Friday and Saturday, hours of operation will be 4 p.m. till 2 a.m., with 8 to 10 staff, including 2 to 3 security personnel. The planning staff recommends approval of the request with the following conditions. 1, construction plans must meet all requirements by water utilities for water and sanitary sewer services, including any requirements by the city's backflow, pretreatment, and/or FOG program. Number 2, final plans must be provided with the location of the equipment that will be used at the establishment. And number 3, all current fire codes will be applied, IFC 2021, including possible requirement of a fire sprinkler system. This is an assembly occupancy which has some of the strictest fire codes. Please note that final occupancy approval is subject to review and acceptance of submitted plans and field inspection to verify compliance with applicable codes. And the planning, like I said, the planning staff recommends approval with the conditions. I do have photos. The property outlined in red is the subject property. This is a site plan. It is flipped upside down, so the building on the left-hand side of your screen is the actual building where the proposed business will be located. And this is a little closer picture. The one on the right there, outlined in blue, is where the building that would be used. This is a photo of the subject property. This is to the west in the shared parking area that they will be utilizing. This is to the north across College. And this is to the east. The applicants are in the audience. I've received 0 responses in favor and 0 in opposition for this request.
The distance between this property and the hospital is already reviewed?
Yes, sir. Whenever you measure you mean for alcohol consumption, it would go to the street and down to the street corner and then across the street and then back down the street and then to the hospital. So, and it only has to be 300 feet.
Yeah, so it's a lot shorter as the fly crows, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, great. Any questions for Adina?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Will there be food served at this establishment, or is just drinking only?
I'm not sure, but I'm sure the applicant can answer that
All
question.
right,
We'll,
thank you.
we'll ask him in a minute.
All right.
Any other questions for Adina? Okay. Is the applicant in the audience? Hey, in the front row. How's it going, guys?
Hello, how you doing?
Would you state your name and address for the record?
Yes, sir. Hello, how you doing? My name is Dylan. We're on 3035 College Street. And
Right.
this is Yorgi. I'm just translating here for him.
Mr. Batista, right?
Batista, yes.
Fantastic. Okay.
Nicholas. Nicholas. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great, great. So tell me about your venture here, my friend.
Well, the plan is to create a lounge where everybody, like, y'all can come in, like, after a long meeting, enjoy yourself, have a couple drinks, smoke some hookah, smoke a cigar, whatever you want to do. And to answer your question, the plan is not to make any food at the moment. But if business goes and we get approved and everything goes well, we want to have like some type of food truck outside, have a taco, have a burger, whatever you want to eat. So the thing is to have at least every weekend have a different type of food truck. Have local vendors show up, sell their food, get to know, and as well help our business.
You guys from Beaumont here? You live here?
We live down in Port Arthur.
Port Arthur.
Yes, sir.
And do you have a bar right now of this type?
They don't know.
No. So where is your experience coming from doing this type of work?
Our experience. Well, we work at a bar.
Okay.
We work at a bar. I DJ there. He's one of the bouncers, and he's also came up with some money, like to create his own bar.
Okay. All right. And are you not next to a hookah bar over there?
Where?
This location?
Oh, there used to be a hookah
There
lounge.
used to be one.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I was going to say that's kind of close to another one like it. So you're going to be serving alcohol, and have you talked to your neighbors any? Is there any conflict? Anybody's upset about
Con
this?
ninguno de los vecinos para que sea algún conflicto de que ustedes vayan a vender alcohol.
No, no han dicho nada.
No, they haven't said anything. No, sir.
Good. Okay. All right.
No question.
And you are going to have security during the week, and you're going to multiply the security by 2 or 3 on weekends.
Yes, van a tener seguridad en la semana y para el fin de semana la van a multiplicar. Yes, sir.
These are actually security people, right?
Son gente
Not
que sí
not
son
just somebody you call security.
Yes, sir. They're going to be actual security.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
Yes, okay. Also, you said that there was no food and it was alcohol. Is there going to be a ban or entertainment inside these facilities for noise?
Como dicen que va a haber alcohol, pero no va a haber comida, si van a tener algún tipo de entretenimiento, alguna música en vivo.
Sí.
Yes, we're going to have live music. We're going to have DJs and hopefully bands as well.
Also, I was looking at the diagram, and if I'm not mistaken, where I'm looking at the parking and the entrance, the getting in and out of off of College Street at that particular site. How many? What's your occupancy you're looking at?
¿Cuánto va a ser la ocupación del local?
Ocupación de,
O sea, la capacidad.
La capacidad. Pienso que 80 personas,
80 personas.
más o menos, sí. 80, 60. 60, 80 personas.
He said 60, around 80 people capacity.
Okay.
Have you already leased the space?
Ya hicieron un lease con el local.
¿Un lease?
Ajá.
Pero que un lease.
O sea que ya hablaste con el dueño del...
Sí.
Pero ya firmaron un contrato
Sí.
con lease. Yes, they have leased the spot already.
And it's starting from when's your start date to move in?
¿Cuándo empieza?
Porque estábamos esperando la aprobación de la ciudad.
As soon as we get an approval.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for the gentleman?
I have a question. Adina,
Please, go ahead.
you mentioned that they would be able to smoke cigars or something to that effect. Okay, that's the first we're hearing of that. You may need to check with the fire department
Okay.
on what the requirements, if it's allowed at all, and what you would be required to do for any kind of smoking.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
No
You
problem.
did a great job translating.
Thank you, appreciate it.
For those on the commission, I'd like to add number 4 in the conditions, as they would have one licensed security person during the week and as many as 2, I don't want to say 3, as 2 during the weekends minimum, right? So we're going to add that to the conditions. And
Chairman,
then
can I
the
suggest that you call it, instead of licensed security, it's peace officer?
peace officers.
So one during the week and 2,
Minimum 2 during the weekends.
okay.
I just want to make sure that they have some real security. And also, smoking will be per approval from the fire marshal. All right, with that said, we're going to open the floor for public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak for or against this case? None is heard, so we close the public hearing. We've heard from the staff and also the applicant. We added 2 conditions: one, to have one peace officer during the week in the time of operation, a minimum 2 on weekends during the operation of the club. And the 5th one is that smoking would be per approval from the fire marshal, City of Beaumont. With that said, I would entertain the motion.
With the following conditions, 5 conditions I approve.
We have a motion with the 5 conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? The ayes have it. Thank you. We go to 2023169.
File PZ 2023-169 is a request to rezone the property from residential single-family to RMH, residential multiple family dwelling, highest density, or a more restrictive district. The applicant, Sabol Vishnu Vandana, is requesting approval for the rezoning for the property located just north of 2360 South Major Drive. The applicant intends to construct an apartment complex containing 150 units. Although majority of the neighboring properties are either vacant or occupied by single-family homes, Major Drive is a major arterial, and this area is recognized as a neighborhood growth unit. As such, multifamily zoning would be an acceptable use and transition into residential neighborhoods. Planning staff recommends approval of the request. I've received 0 responses in favor and 3 in opposition. We did send out 19 notices to property owners within 200 feet. And I have photos for you. The property outlined in red is the subject property. And this is the submitted, just a basic idea of what they plan to do as far as the apartment complex. This is the subject property. This is property to the north, to the northeast, to the east, to the southeast, and to the south. And I'm not sure if the applicant is in the audience or not. I did not see them come in before, but unless they arrived after the meeting started.
Adina, what were the 3 in opposition? Do you have information on that?
Yes, I do. I'm sorry about that. 2 of them have notes, and they are the same from the same property owner. And they state that it's not a fit use for the property. Single residential homes surround the area. And that's the only comment.
So there were 2 from the same
2 from
owner?
the same property owner that own 2 of the
2
properties.
properties. Okay.
And then 1 other, but doesn't give any reasons. They just state that they're not in favor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good.
I'm sorry, what was that reasoning again?
They say that it's not a fit use for the property. Single residential homes surround the area.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Is the applicant in the audience? Okay. The applicant's not in the audience. Let's go ahead and go to the public hearing. So now, if there's negative against the property, how are we going to resolve that? With
I'm
that?
assuming that the property or applicant was given adequate notice to be here. So you could still vote, and if they chose to appeal it, then you could.
Fantastic. We're going to open the floor for public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak for or against this case? Anybody that would like to speak for or against it? We're going to close the public hearing. We have 3 negative comments from the neighbors, and we have a drawing in here. I was hoping that the applicant would be here. They have one trash location, and whoever's in the back part of this property is going to have to walk 798 feet with the trash to put it in there. And the turning radius at the very back, you can't turn a truck in the back. But anyway, those are engineering items that could be resolved by the engineering department. With that said, we go to a vote. We heard from the staff, and we heard 3 complaints or negative comments. With that, I would ask for a motion.
So move for approval.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Show with your hands, please. Okay. Negative, nay? All right, so the ayes have it. Is approved. Thank you.
In favor?
We were against.
I was in against.
All right, we're gonna go to PZ 2023191.
PZ 2023-191 is a request to allow a gaming facility in the GCMD General Commercial Multiple Family Dwelling District at a property at 39 North 11th Street, Suite B. Courtney Watson is requesting to install 14 gaming machines at this location. The hours of operation would be 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., Monday through Sunday. Plans are to staff this location with 1 full-time employee and 1 security person. It should be noted that gaming facilities that have 5 or fewer machines tend to be considered accessory in nature when part of a primary use, and as such tend to result in fewer negative impacts on surrounding land uses. However, larger game rooms with dozens of machines take on the scale of a small casino, and as a result require careful consideration as their location and compatibility with the surrounding land uses. Some of these considerations include compatibility with other land uses, noise, and traffic, as well as safety considerations. As such, proximity to parks, schools, and especially residential uses should be carefully considered in the review of the gaming facilities. This property is in close proximity to BISD's alternative campus at 88 Jaguar. And Lily of the Valley Missionary Baptist Church is located at 2856 Smart Street. Additionally, the shared parking lot has 44 existing legal spaces for the shopping plaza, and the proposed gaming facility would require 25 to 30 of those spaces. An additional 26 spaces are shown on the site plan, but overhang the city right-of-way and are not legal. Therefore, the overall shopping center has only 31% of the minimum required parking, which may lead to conflict among tenants per engineering. Staff recommends denial of the request. We've sent out 23 notices to property owners within 200 feet. I received 0 in favor and 2 in opposition. Of the 2 in opposition, one of them just states they're not in favor. The other does give a reason. They state these types of businesses cause property damages with their customers. And I have some photos. As you can see, the property outlined in red is the subject property. This is a site plan. You can see how the property line cuts across all the parking spaces that border 11th Street. So only a small portion of those parking spaces is actually on the property, which is a requirement for it to be counted towards the required parking. Closer up shot so that you can see how the cars are out onto the right of way. This is a photo of the subject property looking to the north. This is the subject property looking towards the south. This is to the north of the property, east and northeast, to the east across 11th Street, southeast, and to the south. And I believe and I know the applicant is in the audience. If you have further questions, is there anything you need from me?
Any questions for Adina?
Yeah, I have one. When you talk about close proximity, is there a number? What's the footage with close proximity? What are we talking about, and is that within the limit?
The measurements for a gaming facility are property line to property line, as opposed to for alcohol. It tends to be like down the right of way, and you have to go from door to door, that sort of thing. For a gaming facility, it's 300 feet from property line to property line for a church, that they cannot be allowed. And that's not stating that it's recommended. It's just that would be the law, that we could absolutely not consider it.
And the school?
And for the school, I believe it's 1,000 feet. Is that correct? So, and I can't tell you exactly. I don't believe we gave the measurements of exactly how distant, what the distance were for these two locations. It doesn't meet, it's not less than the 1,000 and the 300 feet. It does meet those requirements. We did do a study to make sure that it does meet the requirements. But we recommend that it wouldn't be favorable in this case because they are closer than they should be.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add on with that? I understand about the situation with the church and the school, but I'm thinking that you're saying that one of the main priorities is the parking situation in this particular environment. I'm not sure how many occupants this will require and your parking.
I believe part of our issue was that we never received what we considered a suitable site or floor plan showing exactly what portion of these buildings is going to be used for the gaming facility, which is how we have to calculate the parking. So that's the reason whenever they state it's between 25 to 30 spaces, it's as close as engineering could get to generalize what the parking requirements would be for this location. And as is a strip center, they have shared parking. So there's a certain number of parking spaces that have to be available to each of the uses in the strip center, not just for this use. And that's why whenever he states that for the overall shopping center, there's only 31% of the minimum required parking, that's what he's taken into consideration. And yes, you are right. The parking, I believe in this case, is as much or more of a concern than the proximity of the school and the church.
Councilor, this brings up another question. Are these parking spots illegal and we have to do something about them, or are they going to be grandfathered?
Brandon's here. I'll defer to Brandon. He's our traffic engineer.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Brandon Belair, traffic engineer, 801 Main Street. This is a very old shopping center, which is most likely the reason all of those overhang the right of way. If this entire shopping center were to ever get purchased and redone entirely, that's when we would go and enforce the restricted parking along that right of way. If it's one or two tenants at a time in the existing center, they're gonna be okay. It's not presenting a major safety hazard as of right now.
All right, thank you. Okay, we've heard from the staff and also the traffic engineer. And any questions for any of them? Is the applicant in the audience? Good afternoon, ma'am. If you would state your name and address for the record, and we'd love to hear from you.
Courtney Watson, 39 North 11th Street, Suite B.
All right, you have any other information you want to give us?
There's also parking in the back, rear of the building also.
Okay, and hello.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Guillory. I'm a tenant actually in that same shopping complex on 11th Street Plaza. We have 39 North 11th Street, Suite C. So we would be right next door to them. We have.
I'm sorry, Ms. Guillory, we have to let the applicant finish speaking, and then he'll open it up for anyone who wants to speak for or against. Okay.
Ms. Guillory?
No.
Oh, Ms. Watson.
Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Watson, what age people going to be coming to this place?
I would say 18 and over, no minors.
I'm sorry, what is a typical age that you serve? 30s, 40s, 20s?
I guess 25 up, from 25 up.
25 up, okay. And you're going to give these people pillows and stuffed animals?
Yes, sir.
As gifts or?
Sir.
Okay. And you have 14 machines that's going to be in there, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I see that you say no monetary prizes would be awarded,
Yes, sir.
right? Weren't you here a couple of 3 meetings ago and you said you're going to give them money?
Yes, sir.
You were? Okay. I just want to make sure I'm talking to the same people. And you stated that there's some parking in the back. All right. Any questions for the lady?
Yes, I have a question. Ma'am, would you consider less machines other than 14?
Possible. Yes, sir.
That's what I needed to know.
Less machines, but she won't have any other business in there. It has to be an accessory to a business. If she has a gas station and has 4 of them, but if it's, she said, yeah.
So when a business is an existing business and they have few or less than 5, it's considered an accessory use. So it's not an accessory use when it's the sole purpose to operate as a game room, regardless of how many machines they have. So if it's a game room with no other occupancy use, it's just a game room, regardless if it has 1 machine or 10.
Okay, could there be other uses involved with this as well?
Yeah, it could be a store, it could be
I mean, I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, it's in an existing shopping center, so it has I think in that particular shopping center, boutiques, salons, barbershops. There's several other, just in that shopping strip. There's a hair store. There's several other businesses in that shopping center that will require. I think it's zone general. Yep, there you go.
Well, that's what if she was to consider something other than 14 machines and the primary business being
something else.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions for
I
them?
have a couple of questions. Ms. Watson, have you already leased this building, this space? Okay, and if you do, how many employees will you have there?
I'm going to have at least 2 and at least 3 security.
I'm sorry, what, say it again?
Two,
2? Okay,
for security.
2 unsecured.
okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for the lady? Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, now we're going to open the floor for public hearing. So anybody who wants to speak for or against this project. Good afternoon. Now you can tell us what you want to tell us. If you would state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Tiffany Guillory. The address where we're currently located is 39 North 11th Street, Suite C. We do have 9 businesses inside. It's a beauty, barber, and boutique, and we would be actually located right next door to them. We do feel that it would actually be an added benefit that they would be there because it would bring extra traffic. And so we're not opposed. And when it comes to the parking, and we're like literally 4 of the spaces that's leased out is all been leased out for just storage. So there's actually, they've been purchased and they're paid for monthly, but there's no tenants that are there that have customers.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak for or against this case? None is heard, so we'll close the public hearing. We've heard from the staff and also heard from the applicant. There is a parking issue at the site, and with that, I would look, and the city staff has denied the request. So with that, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to deny?
Second.
We have a motion to deny, and we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? The ayes have it. Thank you. Let's go to PZ 2023-205. Adina, you're doing really good. It's not 5 o'clock yet.
Thank goodness. BZ 2023-205 is a request for a specific use permit to allow a duplex in residential single-family zoning district. Loan Dong, representing Tan Tran, is requesting a specific use permit to allow a duplex at 10720 Sherwood Drive. The property is located within the residential single-family zoning district, and as such, a 2-family dwelling requires a specific use permit. The structure will be 1 story with 2 units for a combined total of 2,420 square feet. Staff recommends approval of the request with the following condition. The lot shall be graded to drain towards the street and not onto adjacent properties. Notices were mailed to property owners within 200 feet. We sent 19 notices. We received 1 in favor and 0 in opposition. And I do have some slides for you. The property outlined in red is the subject property. This is a proposed site plan of the property showing where the duplex will be located along with the parking. The property outlined in blue is the subject property, a little closer look at the actual properties. This is the subject property. This is property to the north. To the west, the railroad tracks, I believe, are right behind the trees there. And to the south. The applicant is in the audience, and are there any other questions you have for me?
Any questions? Great, thank you. And the applicant? Good afternoon, sir. How are you this afternoon? Very well, thank you. If you would state your name and address, and we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, my name is Tien Tran, and the address is 10720 Sherwood Drive.
Great. Do you have anything that you want to add to this, sir?
Just that I think is a good opportunity for us to build this duplex to get more people in the area. And I'm a local investor, and I just want to invest in the community.
Good, good. How many parking do you think that you're going to add here?
Okay, so each unit will have parking inside the garage, and then there'll be additional parking in front.
So there is a garage at the end of that driveway in there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So at least two?
Two, yes.
Okay. Good, good. Any questions for the gentleman? Thank you.
Thank you.
We open the floor for public hearing. Is there like to speak for or against this case? Good afternoon, gentlemen, one at a time. How are you this afternoon, sir?
Terrible, thank you.
Well,
My name's Jeff O'Quinn. I live at 10520 Sherwood Drive, about 450 feet from this proposed property.
okay.
The Pine Island Bayou Estates was established in 1955. There has been no variance to single-family occupancy, and I see no reason to open the door now for commercial property. This is single-family. By having commercial property, you open the door for other people to apply for variances on the single-family addition. It's zoned single-family. There's no reason to change that. This is a very old addition. A lot of elderly people live here. We don't need commercial application. This will lead to future people applying for mobile homes, RV parks, etc. It needs to stay as it is now, zoned single family only. I'll be entertaining any questions if you have any. Oh, I do have one question. Any of you live there in the Pine Bayou Estates? So it won't affect your property value, but it will ours if you approve this zoning change. I have any questions, I'll answer them for you.
You said you lived there for a long time?
18 years.
Is there a covenant for this addition, or is there any documented rule that says you can't have a?
No, I didn't say there was any
I'm
rules.
just asking you. No, I'm just asking.
No, there's none that I'm aware of. On my deed, it doesn't say anything but single-family dwellings. And if you approve a commercial application, which a duplex is commercial, you open the door for all kinds of other requests for variances, which I'm totally against, and everybody in the neighborhood should have the opportunity, but you only notified people within 200 feet of the property. Everybody in the neighborhood should be involved. Approximately 10 years ago, there was a home builder that put modular homes. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's trailer houses without wheels. And it was approved. And it shouldn't have been, but it was. This is the same basic thing that you're trying to do again, is put in commercial property. I'm against it 100%. It's going to devalue our properties by having commercial properties. Any questions? I'll be glad to answer them for you.
Any questions for the gentleman? Thank you, sir.
You're quite welcome. I'm against it. You understand that?
I understand that. Thank you for coming by. And the other gentleman? Good afternoon to you, sir.
Afternoon, everyone. My name is Donald Fowler. I live at 10680 Sherwood, which is right by that place. I believe I actually helped Mr. Train get unstuck when he pulled his truck in there.
Okay.
Right to the north of that house, a man bought the house from the people I bought my house from 32 years ago. And he has had nothing but trouble from renters. The house has been broken into when it takes him 2 or 3 months to get it fixed up because people break in while he's trying to fix it up because he doesn't live there. The project that Mr. O'Quinn talked about, the modular homes, the people that own those modular homes, they had 98 properties out there. That was just going to be an experiment, and the experiment failed because they couldn't sell them. They couldn't rent them out. The people's property on both sides of them, property values went down. They finally sold them. It took them about 5 years for them to sell those modular homes. They got flooded out during Harvey. They got flooded out during Imelda. They've got flooded out several times. I don't need any more trouble than I've already got on my property. Like I said, I've been there 32 years. It takes forever to get police out there. So I think renters is just gonna be another problem. We have a nice, quiet neighborhood. Everybody takes care of each other. You know, that's why I've stayed there 32 years. It's really nice and quiet.
Good.
I like to keep it that way.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you for coming by. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak for or against this case? We'll close the public hearing. Mr. Quinn, I believe, was it?
Yes, sir.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, the other gentleman. Mr. Trent. You had some negative comments about your project, so you have a chance to come back and either explain or give us a remedy.
Yeah, so I took a few notes. So to you, Donald, when you talk about quality of renters.
You can.
I'm sorry.
The commission.
Okay, quality of renters. So a part of our lease contract, we would do a extensive background check to make sure all renters is eligible, and make sure that they follow all the rules like a normal residential personnel would follow. As far as tax, it would be no different than me building a house and selling it. If he's worried, he mentioned about worrying, raising taxes. Yes, it probably will, but it's no different than me building a house and selling it. And I think that it will raise everybody's property, which is, make their property more valuable to me. So,
Thank you, sir.
I have a question for him.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And I think you kind of answered it because I was going to ask you. I know in a duplex, there are people who build them and live in it and rent the other side out. Now, from what you just said, this is pretty much you just renting both sides out.
Right.
Okay. And I guess my other question would be, because I wanted a clarification. I was under the impression that duplex can still be under single family.
With the approval of a specific use permit, which is why they're here today.
Well, I have a question. Do you have any other properties like this in Beaumont?
No, this would be my first time doing a duplex.
So do you have any other rental properties?
No, sir.
Gotcha.
Not at the moment.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've heard from the applicants, we heard from the staff, we heard from two of the neighbors. One lives 400 feet away, one lives right next or across the street, and they are worried about the negative conditions with the duplex. With that said, I will look for a motion.
With the following condition, one condition, I recommend approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve with one condition, and we have a second. Is there a discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Any in opposition? I am you and I? Okay, there's two in opposition, the rest of them in agreement, so the motion passes. Thank you. We go to 2023-219.
File PC 2023-219 is a request for rezoning from GCMD, General Commercial Multiple Family Dwelling, to Commercial Manufacturing, or a more restrictive district. Troy Hatch is requesting approval for the rezoning from GCMD to Commercial Manufacturing for the property at 5190 Forsyth Street. Mr. Hatch owner of Hatches Towing and Recovery LLC, recently purchased the property. The property was being used as a vehicle storage facility, but had not been permitted for that use. Mr. Hatch assumed the use was legal. Unfortunately, a vehicle storage facility is not permitted in general commercial multiple-family dwelling zoning for storage of more than 10 vehicles. When applying for the required certificate of occupancy, Mr. Hatch discovered several issues with the property. First and foremost, the zoning, which would not allow him to store the number of vehicles he planned. The property to the north was rezoned to commercial manufacturing in 2001 and is currently used as a vehicle storage facility. Property to the west is zoned heavy industrial, and the proposed vehicle storage facility would be required to meet all existing zoning ordinance requirements. The planning staff recommends approval of the request. Notices were mailed to 29 property owners within 200 feet. We've received 0 in favor and 0 in opposition. And I do have some slides for you. As you can see on the screen, the property outlined in red is the subject property. You can see it's on Delmar, which turns off of College Street. This is their site plan. It does show the location of the existing building. The building was moved there without permits, so that is something else that they will need to resolve.
Was that by them or the previous?
By the previous owners. They did not move. It was existing whenever they purchased the property, but we don't know exactly when it appeared there. So just a little closer aerial shot for you to show you the kind of the layout of the actual property. This is a photo of the subject property as it sits now. This is the property to the north. To the west, that's the heavy industrial. To the south, to the southeast, and to the east.
Is the property itself fenced?
Is it, I'm sorry?
Fenced. Can you go back to the picture with the building?
Yes.
Whose fence is that? Belongs to this property?
It's on this property. That fence is on this property.
So if he's got vehicles in there, it's not going to be visible to the outside?
I don't believe so, no, sir. Okay. As long as they're within that fenced portion.
All right. Okay. Any questions for Adina? Is the applicant in the audience? Good afternoon, sir. Have we not seen you here before?
No, sir.
You sure?
No, sir.
Okay.
I'm Troy Hatch, and we're talking about 5190 Forsyth Street.
Mr. Hatch, tell us about this. It seems like you didn't get what you thought you were going to get.
No, sir, sure didn't. Thought it was already came through this process, but it didn't, so.
All right, so tell me, what are you planning on doing?
That's just gonna be a storage facility for the community of Beaumont here. I'm gonna store the vehicles there for the residents so they don't go out of town.
You have a towing service?
Yes, sir, sure do.
Okay. And so this is not classified as a junkyard, is a storage?
No, sir.
People come and take their car back and forth, right?
If someone gets in a wreck, we pick it up, bring it to the yard, stores the vehicle, they come pick it up, or the insurance, or we take it to a body shop or whatever it may be. When I'm through with the notice of the vehicle, if it turns into my vehicle, it is taken to a different site. It does not stay there.
Okay. And you are going to park these vehicles within the fence line?
Yes, sir. The only thing that will be parked outside is customers and 1 or 2 tow trucks that's there at the time. The building's not going to be occupied.
All right. Any questions for the gentleman?
Yeah, approximately how many vehicles will be parked there?
No more than 50.
50.
I don't think I could put 50 vehicles there, so.
All right.
Probably 30 at the most.
Councilor, what happens with the issue of the building being brought in there without a permit? Is there, right? Let's just leave it alone. Okay.
Well, it's one of the things, like, he obviously didn't put it on the property, but it's one of the things, if he wants to keep the building, he'll need to go through the process of trying to get it permitted. If he doesn't, then he'll need to either remove it or,
Well, I mean, the poor guy already suffered a lot. You see his shirt is all yellow.
well, that's something that, you guys can consider in the permitting process, is that,
All right. I'd like to add a condition to here, if you don't mind, before we vote. I'd like to make sure that we do not have any cars parked outside the fence on a permanent basis as storage. I understand he has tow trucks and customers, but not as permanent parking, okay? That would be condition number one. With that said, any other questions for the gentleman? Thank you, Mr. Hash. Let's see what happens here. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak for or against this case? None is heard, so we have heard from the applicant. He has bought this place. There is fencing around. The neighbor by the aerial photograph is parking all sorts of stuff in that property. And he's going to keep all the cars that are going to be permanently or long-term stored within the fence line. So with that, I would ask for a motion. With condition number one that says he would not be parking stored vehicles outside the fence line.
Motion to approve, file PZ 2023-2019 with condition number one.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? The ayes have it. Mr. Mayor, I hope we didn't disappoint you. We're at the end of our files, and we would ask for you to send us home.
Well, thank you all for this, and thank everybody for coming, and everybody have a good afternoon, and the meeting is adjourned.
Good job. A blanket, or a blanket.
And candle.